In this video, we're going to go over curtain walls. Also, we're going to go over curtain grid and mullions. They basically go hand in hand. So there's two ways to create a curtain wall. The first one is by selecting a pre-existing wall, and using your properties bar, you can simply go through your options and change it to curtain wall. And then visually, you should be able to see it change. The second option, of course, is just go to wall architectural, and select in your properties bar, scrolling down, curtain wall, and you'll be able to click and draw whatever curtain wall system you want. So those are the two ways to create a curtain wall. I'm going to delete those, and we're just going to use this wall for the example. So I'm going to turn to the right side so I can see my curtain wall flat. And the next thing we're going to discuss is the curtain grid. So in order to create a mullion, you have to create a curtain grid first. So I'm going to go ahead and left click on curtain grid, and when I bring my cursor to the top or the bottom of my curtain wall, you're going to see this gray line appear going vertically, and then it's going to display two dimensions. This is giving you the distance that you're splitting that curtain wall in. In this case, I want 5 sections to my wall, so I'm going to click once. The dimension doesn't matter unless you specifically want that distance, but I'm going to go 2, 3, and 4. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. Now, clearly we can see that my sections are not even. They are far from even. So if you press DI for dimension, you're going to see the symbol by my cursor has changed. What I want to do is I'm going to make sure you select on your curtain wall. So right here you see how the blue switches. I'm going to left click, go to my first curtain grid, second grid, third, fourth, and then the last one, and select. And then I'm going to drag out and click, and here it'll show the exact distances, but since I want to change it, I want all of them to be equal. I'm going to click on it. There should be a button right here. It says EQ, which means for equal. When you left click on it, it is going to make each section equal in size. So I have that finished. Now I'm going to go back to my right side, and I'm going to go back to my curtain grid. Now I have my vertical grid. I want to place in my horizontal grid. So since I want this to be for, let's say, a residential house, I'm just going to place one here in the middle, and I can see that it's perfectly in the middle by 5 feet by 5 feet, and click, and then I'm just going to hit escape because I'm finished. So now this is the grid that I have. Visually, these dimensions are here, so I'm just going to left click on it, right click, view, hide and view elements. I don't want to see that. So the next thing we're going to do is, once your grid is complete, you're going to add in the mullions. So go up here to your architecture tab, select mullion, and we have a couple options here. These are your main options. These will be your modify / editing tools right here. So the first one, grid line. When you bring your cursor over to your grid, what this is telling you is you're going to select the entire line. So for example, if I select this middle line, I zoom in, you can see that I added a mullion to the entire segment, the entire line. If I go to grid line segment, this is going to individually select grid segments. So if I only wanted this top section or bottom section, I can select that. So I'm going to left click, and it only places the mullion on the top. And let's say I go over here to this one. It is only going to do that specific section. And then all grid lines, if you select any of your grid, it is going to place mullions on the entire thing. So of course here you have your modify if you need to do any type of adjusting. We're going to go through the modify in another video, but these are the main 3 that you need to know in order to create a functioning curtain wall. So when you're finished, you can just hit escape, and can go ahead and just double check, look at it, make sure everything's good. One thing that you may want to change is if you go to your wall, you can see here that my mullion is sticking out farther than my wall. So what you can do is, using your wall, you might want to drag it out so it lines up with your mullion. And I'm actually going to switch down to level 1 to ensure that it lines up properly. So I'm just going to go right there, and then I'm going to go up to my top section, and that I can't do anything about because this is a specific distance. I can't change that. So I'm going to go back to my 3D view, and there is my curtain wall. So in final, we did curtain walls. You have your button curtain grid in order to create the grid, and then once you create the grid, you can use and create your mullions.